Hello,
Hello.
our
Hi.
our fearless leader.
Ah,
Hi,
good to see you
Justin.
all. Good to see you all again.
Okay, so before we get started, does everybody understand what happened with the LinkedIn thing?
No,
Okay. Um, did you create Chrome instances?
we haven't made any shortcuts yet. No.
Okay, that's the problem. Because unless you create Chrome instances, you can't apply the VPNs. And even if you use VPNs, you probably overrode each other. So we'll talk about that. And that's why I
Okay.
suggested we practice on Facebook first. We probably should have at least 2 weeks or a month solid of doing work on Facebook and Facebook groups before we even attempt LinkedIn, because
Mhm.
we want to get our mistakes out on Facebook, not on LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, you don't have a do-over. So,
And what's your feeling about Nextdoor?
oh, Nextdoor is fine. Yeah, Nextdoor is
Consider like Facebook, the same kind of thing.
probably even more forgiving than Facebook. So if you can consider Facebook forgiving, but compared to LinkedIn, Facebook is very forgiving.
Okay, so we'll just focus on these two systems for now.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's tons of groups and tons of stuff you can do on Facebook, plus all the content rewriting you have to do and creating accounts and stuff like that, creating groups. So
Mhm.
there's tons and tons of work to do on Facebook. Um, and if we're successful on Facebook, then we're going to be even more successful on LinkedIn, because LinkedIn tend to be more professional people. Um, on Facebook, people are very skeptical and they always put up a wall because everyone assumes they're out to sell them something. On LinkedIn, a little less so. So if we are successful on Facebook, then there's a very good chance that we will be successful on LinkedIn with the strategies that we're going to talk about today. So we are not in a training session. We are in a cocktail party, right? We all have our favorite drink, whether it's beer or coffee or wine, or what's your favorite drink? Let's go around everyone. What do you have in your hand?
Oh, I have water.
Okay. No, but in a cocktail party, what would you be drinking?
Wine, maybe.
Wine?
Red wine.
Red
Red
wine.
wine.
Okay. So is everybody drinking red wine?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No.
So
Mhm.
imagine you're in a room, you're about to walk into a room, there's about 50 people in the room. And what generally happens in the room, there's clusters. There's 4 or 5 group people chatting with each other. Then there's another group of 2 or 3. There's 1 or 2 chatting and so on. So your job is to walk into the room, make a little bit of an entrance so people see you coming in. And now you need to engage with these people, right? You're walking through the room and you hear someone say something about real estate investing. Oh, real estate investing, that's interesting. I'm interested in real estate investing, right? And you walk to the group and say, forgive me for overhearing your conversation, but did someone say real estate investing? I'm interested in that. And by the way, my name is Leo, right? Then you look at the person who was chatting, you say, gee, I love that jacket, or I love the hair, or I love the shoes, or I love something, right? So start with a compliment. And when you start with a compliment, it's hard to give someone a compliment without smiling, right? So when you're smiling, it's a clear invitation for them to smile back. Okay. So you have a conversation, you talk about real estate investing or whatever the topic was in that conversation. Then you excuse yourself and you walk along to the next group and you overhear something, and whatever it was, you're selling some real estate, or you're building a basement, or whatever the conversation is, and you find a way of engaging in that conversation. It could be as simple as, "Oh, that's interesting. Can you tell me more about that?" And by the way, my name is Leo, right? So Facebook groups is pretty much like that. Okay. Except you won't have to tell them what you do or what your name is, because they can see that on your post. Okay. And you shouldn't ask questions that you should be able to research on your own first. So in other words, if you're engaging in a group and it's a painting group or a handyman group, and I'll show you some examples, you don't ask them, what do you do for a living? You may want to look at their profile first, because some of them clearly state on the About Us section, I think it's About Us, they state their website, email address, phone number, and so on. But I would say only about 2 to 10% of people on Facebook actually do that. And most contractors and most people don't even list what they do for a living. So in that case, after you search their profile, then you're allowed to do. I had a quick look at your profile, but it doesn't say what you do for a living. Do you mind me asking? Right? So again, extreme politeness, just like you would in a cocktail party, right? You wouldn't say anything on Facebook groups that you wouldn't say at a cocktail party. Again, you're trying to be extremely polite, right? So when you go to a cocktail party, it's usually a good idea to look at today's events, because you don't want to go to a cocktail party not knowing, what's happening in politics, what's happening in the city, what the events are going on in the city, what holidays are coming up. February 14th is coming up. What's February 14th?
Valentine's Day.
Valentine's.
Okay. So please unmute yourself. This is a engagement. This is not a lecture. So this is Mylene. We're all involved in this conversation. So this is not the first training session. So really this conversation is seeing where you are, answering your questions, and taking you to the next level. So I mean, I can use general terms to try and help you, but what I find when I use general terms, or when you're trying to help someone, you never know what type of help they need, or what type of questions they have in their mind, because if they have a question in their mind, they're ready for the answer. If I give them an answer to something else and they're not ready for that answer, it goes in one ear and out the other, and we've just wasted 20 minutes. Okay. So answering questions is the best way to elevate people to the next level. So let's start by asking a couple of questions. How many people have spent some time on Facebook groups today? Okay. Just 2 people? Okay. Even though you're doing content writing, I'm assuming that's what you were doing today. Even though you're doing content writing, you should always split your tasks, because creating the need or creating opportunities is something we need to do today to get clients in tomorrow. Writing content is something that we're doing to get clients in for 2 or 3 months down the road. Okay. So we need cash flow today. We need cash flow tomorrow. And that's why you kind of have to prioritize your tasks. Okay. Creating opportunities is something you need to do every day.
So you're suggesting a quarter of their day, 2 hours, an hour and a half.
I would probably suggest more than that, because we are practicing. So I would probably suggest 90% of your day to be looking for opportunities, because when you're investing that, because we're so early in the game, and because we don't have a lot of credibility within those groups, we're going to start hitting some walls. Okay. So when you hit a wall, you jump to another group. You hit another wall, you jump to another group. Okay. Because if people start asking, well, who are you, and why are you responding to 20 posts in this group, and you can overdo it. So, and that's why you should not spend more than, let's say, 20 minutes or 30 minutes per group. Then you can start getting a feel, right? What I found before is when I was engaging too much on one post, people were getting tired of seeing my comments, right? So a good rule is, 2 or 3 comments on one post, find another post, write 1 or 2 comments, find another post. And if you have an egg timer, it's probably a good thing to use. Everybody knows what an egg timer is, right?
Mhm.
Or use your alarm on your phone. But the problem with alarm on your phone is you tend to forget. An egg timer is right in front of you. It's pretty hard to ignore, right? So if you have an egg timer, use it, set it for 30 minutes, it goes off, finish your comment, go on to the next group. Okay, does that make sense with everyone?
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so searching for opportunity is the same thing that you were doing when you're, going through the cocktail party, right? You never know who these people are. You never know what questions or comments or problems they're going to pose in these groups. And by reading the comment, you reading the first paragraph or reading the first sentence of a post, you can get a pretty good idea what the comment is, and you don't have to read everything. So either you want to engage, you want to go to the next one, you want to like it, so you keep getting reminders to come back to it and stuff like that. So it's about looking for opportunity and turning and creating a higher level opportunity from that. Okay, so we are an odds job type company. Everyone looked at the Trusted Circle spreadsheet that I sent you?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so the Trusted Circle is about helping other people. It's a longer term investment. And when you help, let's say, a real estate agent engage or commenting on the house listing or getting him some eyeballs, because when you comment on it, a lot of your followers will now see that you commented on that post. If it's on his feed, if it's in the group, then more people will see it, because people engage with posts that have high engagement. Very rarely does someone engage if there's no comments and only a few likes. So you're helping him by being the first one or the 10th one to engage in that post. Okay. So by helping him, eventually he's going to see you. Hey, you helped me 10 times already. What do you guys do? Right. And eventually he's going to see your face, recognize your face, and eventually he's going to respond to some of your posts. Okay. And after, let's say, 5 or 6 times when you've engaged with them, because you're going to see regular people. Okay. Regular people post regularly. Okay. Or successful people post regularly. So you're going to remember some of these faces. So after the 5th or 6th time, you say, hey, Robert, just comment on the last 5 or 6 of your posts. Can we help each other? Would you mind doing the same thing with my posts? Right. Then now you've got someone to do that, because your posts need to have engagement, right? And when it's a new Facebook profile and you only have, 100 connections or 10 connections, it's going to be very hard to get that engagement. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's why it's a good idea to schedule a post, like to schedule a post for, you're going to post a video every Tuesday at 11 o'clock, and you want everyone in the trusted circle to comment on it. And you're going to use the marketing spreadsheet to pre-write comments that you want them to copy and paste to help your post. Okay. So what you're going to find out is people are lazy and you have to do everything for them until they understand that you're there to help them and your posts create a lot of engagement. Until that happens, you need to show them how to do it. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen and we're going to look at a couple of posts. And by the way, down here, I'm assuming you can see where my cursor is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, this is one of the profiles. Now, I suspect that, okay, this is not loading and the cover photo is not coming up. I suspect one of the reasons why the LinkedIn profiles were deleted is because they all look identical. They all look professionally done with the logos and everything. That's usually a flag to LinkedIn saying, hey, there's something wrong here, because they understand when people start a profile, they don't automatically upload a logo. They don't, a lot of times they don't even, fill in this field. They don't write, a profile and everything. So we have to act like human beings would, and understanding human beings are lazy and they're learning by trial and error, and they do things a certain way. So, and by the way, this is a Chrome instance. So if I were to click and open the tab and type in LinkedIn, that Chrome instance goes directly to LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, and so on by using the same Chrome instance. And let me show you what a Chrome instance is. These are Chrome instances. Why they're called that, I have no idea. But these are
just
Chrome.
seem like shortcuts, right?
Yeah, they're shortcuts, but they're called Chrome instances. But they use the same. I'm going to open it up so you can copy it. And I don't know if you can see it. There's brackets in here, and you can change the person's name, and you're creating a new instance by doing that within the quotation marks.
I see within the
Yeah.
within the shortcut target. Okay.
Yeah. So by doing that, you can copy the Chrome instance and create another one.
So is that what you copied there in the brackets? Is that essentially the web address for the profile?
No, the web address is before that.
Chrome.exe/
Yeah, it creates the Chrome instance to the page, to a new page. Then you're typing in the URL, and then the Chrome instance remembers the URL for the different websites.
Okay.
Okay. This is not what we're doing here today, but this is what these Chrome instances looks like. So when you have people in the different parts of the Philippines logging in through, what was that program again?
I have remote PC.
Remote PC. So when they log in and they're using a Chrome instance, they're using the same VPN. And it doesn't matter if they're in different parts of the Philippines or China or whatever, because it's going through the same VPN. Facebook or LinkedIn doesn't know any different.
Yeah. So that computer you guys have access to is the one that will have all of those shortcuts and the instances built onto the front page.
Right. Okay, so this is Construction Pros. Construction Pros, even though it's a US-based website, there's, I would say about 10% of the people in this group are Canadians. I think there's about 150,000 people in this group. Every once in a while, you can post, any fellow Canadians in this group. I'm having an issue with this, and this. Make sure it's construction related, or else it won't be posted. So here's here's a trick that I've learned, because I found that Justin and I have the same problem. We are too efficient. We are too focused. We want to be very efficient. So what I do is I actually copied and pasted this from another group that had a couple of hundred comments on it. Okay.
Yeah.
So a lot of times the grammar is not good. And sometimes when you fix a post and you look too professional, you're raising flags. So this one was posted, I believe this morning, and it already has 52 comments on it. Okay. So, okay. Are you a member of this group already, Justin?
I could be.
Okay.
Company, can I be it as a company or as a person?
See, see, that's a great question. Let's post that to the people on this panel. Do people engage with companies, or do people engage with personalities or people within the company?
Right.
Mhm.
I'm looking for answers.
Usually, the people.
Probably with the person. So me as a person is fine, but me as a company might be.
Yeah. Okay.
I
So,
don't, me as a person doesn't go on Facebook, unfortunately.
okay. But you as a person through your VAs goes on LinkedIn, on Facebook.
It sure does.
So, and keep in mind, you're not speaking as yourself. You're not speaking as Robert. You're speaking as Justin. You are Justin when you're using his profile. When you're using another profile, you are speaking as that person. And when you're creating these profiles, and profiles are easy to create on Facebook. So everyone should be proficient at creating profiles on Facebook. Because we need a lot of engagement, because you don't want to be using the same profile too many times. And we're going to have a lot of employees in the future that are going to be using these profiles. So we need these profiles created. Okay. And they should be older. Why should the profiles or the pictures be older?
Because people listen to older people than younger people.
Right? Because you get credibility.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say.
So if you're trying to get credibility, if you're 16 years old as opposed to 65 years old, who gets a little more credibility at first sight, right? So let's create the best advantages for ourselves, and use profiles that will help us, right?
Can I have a question? I have a question about that.
Sorry,
can
go
we-
ahead.
Can we use gender? Like, I feel that women might listen to women when you're referring a company, but men might listen to if you're kind of trying to refer like a business to business lead.
Yeah.
So
But females in construction group, and this is the hard part. Females in construction groups, even though they're older, don't get as much respect as males in construction groups. Even though the male might have been in the construction group, for a year, and the female for 20 years, at first glance, they don't know that. But when it comes to face-to-face, or not face-to-face, one-to-one email exchanges, the female gets a lot more responses, especially if she's a pretty female. But in the group, I would suggest a male. So it really depends on the type of engagement. Because you want to do both, I would have a mix of probably 50-50. So 50 males, 50% females, all older. Okay. Because when they're too pretty or too young, they just want to talk about having sex and nothing happens. Okay.
Right.
So you lose focus and you're wasting time. So I mean the person has to be attractive, and this person does not exist. You know, you'll have to press it 50 times. And when you right click on it, Robert just fell out. When you right click on it, then you can save it. And what I generally do is I start with M for male, then type random numbers. Then that way they automatically sync themselves. When you're looking for a male, you go to the male category, female in the female category, and you don't have to search all of them. Okay, so creating profiles is fairly easy, but when you create a profile, you're trying to create a profile for Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest. So when you create a profile, create a profile for all the different channels that you need. Then that way you won't have to remember, how old did I say she was on Facebook? You know, when you're doing it, you remember all the birth dates and everything else. And it's easier to do when you're doing the 5 or 6 at the same time. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah.
And,
We
and
can
again,
preload this. Can we
Sorry?
preload this in? Can we preload this information into the spreadsheet even if we
yes.
drip slowly?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's a good idea. Then that way you can remember, because if you need to verify at some point when they ask when is your birthday or anything like that, you can go to the spreadsheet, copy and find the birth date that you used, right? To verify the account.
How many ideal numbers of members in a group to join? How many?
That's a really good question. Unfortunately, the Toronto groups are going to be smaller, right? I just created a group this morning that already has, I think, 20 or 30 people in the group. It really depends on the group. I mean, smaller groups I wouldn't necessarily avoid because there's more intimacy. And I found that some people, not all, but maybe 2 or 3% of the people avoids large groups because they lose intimacy. So unfortunately, real estate groups are going to be smaller in the GTA.
What about having more than one of our profiles connect to a page in order to kind of create almost conversation between the two individuals if you can't do it yourself, like if you can't get it from other people?
Yeah, you can have the different profiles. I'm not sorry, Justin. I didn't understand the question.
Like instead of having one profile join one group, have 3 of our profiles join one group and create more engagement that way.
Yeah, I would have all the profiles join all the groups.
Okay.
Because if a group is worth joining, it's because you've tested it and there's engagement. There's the right type of people there that you want to attract. Like property manager group are very hard to find. And sometimes it can take 6 months or so doing constant searches because a lot of these groups are private. And they won't show up because of who you are and what you have on your profile. I think the algorithm purposely hides them. And even today, even last week, the algorithm keeps showing me groups that I know I searched for a couple of years ago and couldn't find. And I know these groups are older than a couple of years. So when you can't find them, it's because the algorithm doesn't feel like it belongs to you, or you're being too spammy, you're joining too many groups, or whatever it is. So sometimes the algorithm is fighting against you. So joining these groups, figuring out who the admins are, reading the sometimes you need to read their policy and procedure because some groups are anti-spam and you can't post anything about your company, and other groups are very liberal. So before you start posting anything, it's a good idea to have a good look at it. If you see other people, 3 or 4 other people promoting themselves, then there's a pretty good chance you can do it as well. Or read or ask the admin if you can, because when you ask for permission, you're like the golden child, right? Then it's very hard for you to do anything wrong at that point. When you ask permission from the group owner or the group admin, then it shows respect. Or you might start a post by saying, I'm not sure that, this is allowed in this group. If not, please delete. Then write your comment or question or post or whatever it is. But that's always a very polite thing to do. If it's the first time in the group, I would suggest you do that and apologize for wasting the admin's time if it's not, appropriate to post. And a lot of times they post that when they wouldn't otherwise because you asked so nicely. Okay, so that's kind of a trick to get your posts. And it also shows the rest of the group members that you're very respectful. You're not going to yell at people. Engagement with you is going to be very polite because you already showed that you're extremely polite, right? Which is a contrast because people, especially in construction pros, are bullies. They're negative people. They're awful people. So if you show that you're the opposite of that, you're already going to gain friends. Okay. The biggest complaints people have about construction pros in the larger groups, people are bullies. And people think they can do whatever they want because they're online, and they would never say or do this in the cocktail party, but they're doing it online. Okay. So I prepared the page a couple days ago where I was going to show where someone was being negative to me, extremely negative. And I wrote back an extremely polite email, and I asked him what I did to him. And if I offended him, I apologize. But why would he post a comment like that on my post, right? And I sent him the same thing as a private email, because if he did it once, he's going to do it again. So you need to know that you are not going to post anything negative and get away with it on my post. Okay, you're going to do it extremely politely, but you need to know that you are not going to be walked all over. Okay, don't report, don't do anything like that. You handle whatever issue in an extremely polite manner, and usually it doesn't happen anymore. Okay, so this is Construction Pros, so we should all be part of this. Your first post should be, I'm a new Canadian, and I was just wondering if there's any other fellow Canadians in this group. I run a handyman type service. Is a handyman service allowed in this group? I apologize if it isn't, stuff like that. Okay. Practice and you'll figure it out. This is Construction Pros again. A quick question. Oh, again.
I have a question. What will be the profile bio? I mean, what will be the position or job title of, for example, one dummy account?
You could be a real estate investor. You could be a real estate agent, a part-time real estate agent. You don't have to say part-time. You could be a contractor, architect for custom homes. I mean,
put us being a part of a job, like working in a job. It's okay.
I see third-party recommendations are more important than you promoting yourself. So I would create 10 profiles that say nothing about odd jobs, right? Then when you have an opportunity to say, hey, do you ever have, small jobs that you really don't want to do, but you still want to make your client happy? this is the company that I use. I use oddjobs.ca. They've been doing some great work for me,
Mhm.
right? A third-party endorsement is a lot better than saying, gimme, gimme, gimme. You know, it's my company. We do awesome work. Nobody cares.
And then if we had the other profiles in the group say, yeah, I used them too, they were great, and yeah, they've been on my profile, they've been on our list for 10 years, then that kind of adds credibility to the recommendation, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. Actually, again, I had another tab that I was going to show this, where one gentleman did this for me, and he recommended me, and he's now using my services. We've had 3 or 4 conversations. I've sent him a ton of videos. He has a partner that just does not want to learn, but he still has enough respect for me. He saw a post and he says, talk to Leo, and he tagged me in the post. So that's going to happen. So I'm going to try and find it, because that's an authentic situation, and you want to create authentic situations where you tag, let's say, Justin's profile for Odd Jobs, right? Then you go back on Justin's profile in Odd Jobs and say, thank you so much for the mention. And then you continue the conversation without being overly salesy. Okay. So yeah, what Justin said really makes sense. When you have a post, and again, you create one of the posts, and this is why creation is so important. You create one of the posts as a contractor, and you say, you know, one of my clients keeps asking me, or one of my clients' grandmother has this house in Toronto. It doesn't, you know, it doesn't make sense for me to drive there. Can anyone recommend a handyman or a handyman in the Toronto area, right? Then you use that profile to suggest yourself. Okay.
Mhm.
So that's what I mean about creating opportunities. Okay. Why did I have this one here? I've got a quick question.
This kind of reminds me of the trick when I was a kid and my friends were selling something and I would walk up and stand in front of it to make it look interesting. And then naturally people would start to stand next to me. And I would ask a question and suddenly those other people wanted to buy the thing. And all I had to do was be part of the game and stand in front of the thing. And suddenly magically all the stuff happened just because people are just like creatures of like following the leader.
Yeah. People are sheep.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've ever been in an auction, to emphasize Justin's point, they have shills, what they call shills, right? Most of the time, people are not interested in a lot of the products, but then someone shows interest and he's a shill and he'll bid on this something. Now, when people find that, hey, that person is interested in that, maybe I should have a look at it, then more people are interested in it, okay? And also keep in mind, as I said before, no one is going to be the first one to post on your post. So when you post something, you can, even using the same profile, post questions or follow-up questions or follow-up comments on that post, so they're not the first ones posting, okay? Or quickly jump to another profile and respond, because the algorithm, especially when you're posting on your main page, the algorithm picks this up, the Facebook and especially LinkedIn. So you want to have, you know, ideally, if it's a really important post, you want to have at least 60 comments within this first 60 minutes. And this is why scheduling an important post is important. So we know that, you know, Justin's profile is going to post something important every Tuesday at 11 o'clock. You send out a reminder in the groups, and everyone is ready with their comments, and the algorithm picks it up and starts showing it to other people, because the algorithm sees it as an important post because there's so much engagement at the beginning. Okay. This is a comment on a new custom home. And I actually landed a client in Texas who wants to build custom homes from this simple profile, this simple post. Okay. So this is what I mean about creating opportunities. And if that client pays me $200,000 a year, this is how important your job is. Okay. So just because you're sitting here and you're writing comments on Facebook, you're doing it with an end goal. You're building a relationship with a client that's going to deliver results. A broker, as an example, a real estate broker usually have at least 100 real estate agents in his office. You getting good with our real estate broker, you do him enough favors, he's going to start suggesting to some of his agents to do the same. And at some point, we can even go into his office to do a presentation to help all the real estate agents in his office to say, hey, we can help you increase your engagement on Facebook by at least 10 to 20%, right? You help all their agents by 5 to 20%. And all we ask is that you recommend us to your clients when the need arises. Right? So it's doing a favor and getting a huge payback in return. Okay. So you don't take your job too lightly because it's extremely important.
Yeah, all the other stuff you guys are doing for helping me get organized and making sure that we run properly. But this in and of itself is what's going to generate additional revenue in order for me to be able to hire extra people and grow.
Right. Because the company always needs money. Your job description, if you haven't written a job description for yourself, let me help you. The first line is whatever you need to do to make sure the company makes a profit. That's your job description. Okay. That's my job description. That's Justin's job description. That's everyone's job description. To do whatever it takes to make sure the company makes a profit so they can pay my salary. Okay.
Yeah.
Does that make sense to everyone?
Yes.
Now this is a Toronto group, and I'm surprised it doesn't show how many members. And I don't want to lose the page, and I think I just lost.
18,000.
Sorry, what did I have on here? I forget what I had on here now.
The group before or the comments you had?
No, the comment that I had here, Toronto Renovations Ontario Contractors.
Oh, I'm not sure. I don't remember the name of it.
Okay. Well, whatever it is, make sure each profile is a member of this group. I'm not familiar with this group at all. But when I was scrolling, getting content for this meeting, I liked some of the posts here. And again, in the spreadsheet, what you want to do is start writing the content. And one of my assistants does this way too much, and she never looks at it and is just gathering information without really using it. But we kind of need to know what type of engagement creates the best results. And the best way to do that is copy other posts. Okay. So copy other posts, and the way to do that is Construction Pros, Painting Pros. There's a number of other groups that have high engagement, and you can literally copy and paste posts that have high engagement into the smaller groups. I wouldn't even worry so much about plagiarism, because when you copy and paste onto Grammarly as an example, and by the way, I use Grammarly every single day. Grammarly automatically changes it a little bit, so it's not exactly plagiarism. And I don't think plagiarism is a thing on Facebook posts.
But yeah, I don't think it can be a thing in comments.
Yeah. So I wouldn't even worry so much about it. But, every once in a while, you'll have people that are members of the same groups you are. If they say, I remember seeing this post, on this other group, you say, yeah, I copied it from there. I thought it was such a great question that I wanted to use it myself. So don't be afraid of it. I just hired a handyman. Oh, this is I just hired a handyman who didn't know what an angle stop is. Wish me luck. Okay. So this is what you call an Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. This is a technique to get people to respond. And by the way, 653 comments. And what you do is you purposely quote a mistruth. Then people are forced to correct you. Okay, this is a mistruth. Whether he knows it or not, it's still using that same technique, even though he doesn't know he's using it, right? So, so when you're posting something on Facebook and you're not getting a response from the person that should be responding to you, what you want to do is misquote something. And when you misquote something, then he's almost obligated to come back and fix the mistake you just made.
Oh, because people love to talk about how smart they are.
Exactly. So when you misquote something, it's almost a sure sign they're going to correct you. People love correcting other people. People feel superior when they correct other people.
So we draw in all the
Especially-
narcissists.
Sorry?
You draw in all the narcissists.
Yes. Yes. Especially on construction pros, you're gonna find a lot of them. So if you're looking for engagement, quote something that you know is not quite true, not quite false either. But you know, there's a lot of that. What you might want to say is, you know, handyman to drive pickup trucks are lazy. Think about how much
Like an
engagement.
emotionally charged challenge.
But a post like that will get deleted because the admins would know it's an inflammatory post. So, and that's why you have to tone it down a little bit.
Could you make that into like a survey?
Yes, you could. Actually, surveys are used, but not used very often. So yeah, surveys.
Like to get people's opinion on silly things like that, right?
Actually,
What's
getting
better,
people's
handyman, truck handyman or van handyman? Started to
right. Now, this happens to be on the professional handyman site that I don't think has more than 20,000 or 30,000 members. So, and you see the engagement. So don't be afraid to be a little controversial, but extremely polite controversial. Okay. So if you apologize for making the mistake, be extremely apologetic. Okay. I don't want to go on too long here, but so there's a lot of posts asking about how much does it cost for this per square foot and so on. Like this is contractors helping contractors. This is the third group that you must belong to. Every profile should belong to the top 5. Okay, and I can post the links to all 5. That way you don't have to take notes, Justin.
yes, please.
And then that way you can just copy and paste and get there. So we have a few minutes, so I'm going to stop sharing. So based on what we talked about, what are some of the posts that you're going to start doing today? Because you're just starting your day today, right? Or are you working Toronto hours now?
No, they're all over the place.
Sometimes on the evening.
Okay. Does anyone have a problem working Toronto hours, 9 to 5, 9 to 6?
No.
No.
I don't have
No.
a problem.
So everyone loves Toronto hours. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yep.
One person.
Half of it.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Okay.
I work early in the morning or night.
Okay.
Not the full Toronto hours.
Okay. Because Toronto hours are important because live engagement is crucial. When you have a person that's responding to you, and you can see the 3 dots on one-to-one email, and creating engagement and letting them know that you are a real person is important. And you can accomplish 2 or 3 weeks worth of work in less than an hour. So it's important. So working Toronto hours is important. So think about the posts you're going to create whenever you're working next. What kind of posts are you going to create? Let's go one by one. Emerlyn, start with you.
It should be a high engaging post. It should be related to real estate business, like construction related post.
Okay. Can you be more
Yeah.
specific? What type of post? I'm putting you on the spot for a reason.
Oh, like for instance, there's let's say for instance I am a realtor or a real estate agent, and I'm looking for a professionals that would help me to my to my what I call this properties that needs to be maintained, or like needs to be fixed. So
Okay.
that would be the way that our company or the lead group will help that real estate agent. So once I
Okay.
posted something like a problem, I'll be posting something like there's a problem and on my properties that need to be fixed before I'm gonna sell it, or I'm gonna look for buyers. Then that's it. I'm looking for attraction from people in Canada.
Okay. Specifically Toronto, Canada,
Yes,
if
yes.
possible. So
Mm-hmm.
one of the best ways to help a real estate agent or a real estate broker is by truly helping them.
Yeah.
And one of the questions you might ask is, are you getting a lot of new clients from Facebook groups or LinkedIn? 95% of the time, they will say no. The
Mm.
other 4% of the time, they are lying when they say yes.
Mm.
Really 1 or 2% are actually getting clients from Facebook or LinkedIn because they're being salesy, right? So in that case, what you might want to do is say, hey, I understand, we don't know each other all that well, but I'm trying to help you, so eventually you help us. So let me help you first. And what I find the best technique for finding clients for real estate agents, just like it is for us, is by helping people. So who are your clients? Do you deal with, people who are real estate investors? What I find is if you help them, send them a copy of the Trusted Circle, right? Then that way, surround yourself with great people, because the next meeting you go into, if they ask, a good interior designer or a good home inspector, or do you a good real estate agent or a good moving company, right? You should be prepared to say, yeah, I do. Here's a list. He's number 25 on the list. Okay. And this is how I'm going to do 90% of the work for you, and you're going to look really good in front of your client. Okay.
Mm.
So every situation like that has an opportunity for you to help them. Okay. And there's even a video on my YouTube channel that explains that in detail. Okay. And if he actually looks at it, which you may have to remind him, did you get a chance to look at the Trusted Circle? I really believe that is one of the ways you're going to be able to double or triple the amount of work or the amount of clients you're getting from Facebook or LinkedIn. Please have a look at it. Okay. And send them a link again, right? If you are persistent in helping them, eventually they're going to come back to you and say, thank you for that. Okay. Mylene, what are you going to post tomorrow?
For example, I'm a real estate agent, then my client is looking have a problem with the repair in their newly purchased house. So I can ask a suggestion. For example, I join a handyman group. Then I will ask any suggestion from the members of the group if what my client would do.
Okay. So
Yeah.
really any question And
Yeah.
by playing with questions, you will understand what gets engagement and what gets better engagement. So it's
Mhm.
practice, 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 practice. Okay.
I will copy some of the like what have you mentioned earlier that one strategy is we'll copy the post in different group which is getting high engagement. Then
Yeah.
we can see that for future reference.
Yeah.
We can post that to others.
Yep. Absolutely. Learn from other people.
Mhm.
Learn from their successes and learn from their mistakes. Robert, do you have something to say?
So regarding with the approach that I'll use, maybe I'll start by posting like a introductory style, like "Hi, I'm new here," like that. What you have mentioned earlier, or welcoming, or it's not
Yeah.
gonna work. But that's just my first idea. But second is, I will try to scout first. Like for example, it's a real estate agents group, like, and then I'll check what are the posts that has a lot of engagement, and then I will gather some ideas with the post that has a lot of engagement. So in that way, I can earn trust and engagement with the community and other people like that.
Yeah. The reason why I was cringing is because, yeah, you can do that. But think about this. Let's say you're a professional. You've been doing something for 35 years. You're a contractor. You've been doing it for 35 years. You know, for 35 years, you've had newbies coming up to you and sucking your brain dry for free information. After 35 years, how likely are you to engage? Right? So, and also by saying I'm new here, it kind of strips your credibility as well, doesn't it? Right?
Makes
Because
sense. Yep.
if you've been as a real estate agent for 25 years, or you've been, an architect, and you've been around that long, chances are you're a member of all these groups already for the past 10, 15 years. So by saying I'm new here, you're kind of stripping your credibility away. So I would try and avoid that.
Okay.
And they
I'll
don't know
take
that
note
you're
of that.
new.
Yeah, and they don't
Mhm.
know that you're new, right? They might be
Mm.
new, so they might assume you've been there forever, right? But sometimes this is what's going to give you away. There's a flag, a hand up says you're new in the group. So,
Mm.
but I think after a month or so that goes away. But not everybody knows what the hand means unless they hover over it. So, okay, well, that's perfect timing. Unless there's any other questions, I'm going to thank you for your time and practice, practice, practice. And let's start creating some of these profiles, because a new profile you don't want to overuse, because you can't start a profile. All of a sudden you're working on the profile for 4 or 5 hours a day. That's going to be flagged and you're going to be deleted. So no more than 20 or 30 minutes on the profile, and don't send out too many connection requests. Maximum 20 a day with a new profile, and try and get connections organically, because you're posting such great comments, people, or great questions, people want to connect with you. Okay, does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
Can you send a copy of this video and link it to the group as well, please?
Yes. All right. Thank you all and have a good night. We'll talk again soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Have a nice
Thank you.
day.
Thank you so much.
Have a good night's sleep. Bye.
Hey.